Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Cohen. You can call me Dr. E, and I'm going to be your professor for this semester for COMM 205, which is appreciation of the motion picture or appreciation of moving images. I don't remember the difference, but it doesn't really matter. Let me share my screen right now so you can get the whole branding experience with my hot pink. I really like hot pink. Um, hmm. Okay. So the reason that we are not meeting in class is because a few years ago I just got so fed up with doing syllabus day, right? Where everybody comes, everybody who's registered theoretically comes to the class and we pass out the syllabus and I go through all the course policies. And then few people drop and then other people add, and then they come up to me the next class and being like, "Hey, what did I miss?" And I'm like, "Ugh, really, man?" And then I was like, there's this beautiful technology that allows me to make my own motion pictures. Why don't I just record syllabus day? And that way, if anybody adds the class late, you can just take a look at this whenever you do add it. And then for the people who were registered and showed up, like, not, I mean, I know you're supposed to, but they can stay home on the first day of class and it just like, and then anybody who wants to watch this later because they want, I don't know, to see my face, they can refresh themselves and everything. So this is why we're having virtual syllabus day. Uh, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but I am a little bit long-winded. But hey, you can pause me if you want. You can fast forward through things, do whatever you want. It's all good. Okay, just to begin, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself and why I teach the class. Um, I watch a lot of TV, and that's the only thing that WV requires. No, I'm just joking. I have a PhD, ooh, credibility in communication, and I specialize in media psychology. And what that means is I study the psychological effects of when people are exposed to different things that they encounter in the media. I'm especially interested in things like narratives. So, how different stories or exposure to different characters, especially fictional characters, affects how people think about themselves or different groups of people that they encounter outside of the media. So sort of like how people encounter things in the media, in movies and film and TV and stuff like that, and how that affects their perceptions of things they encounter outside of the media. I've been at WVU since 2012, and I have a bunch of animals, about 24-ish chickens, and then that's Jolene. She's the Great Pyrenees who watches over the chickens in the day. And then pugs, I've got one on my lap right now. She's the quiet one. There's a noisier one who's also napping. You might hear him later, but I'll try not to. This is Blue. The other one's Fergus. And I got a kitty who's sleeping somewhere. Also, she's not so noisy. So yeah, when I'm not working, I'm hanging out with these guys. I'm actually hanging out with these guys even when I am working, if I can help it. Um, as you have probably gathered, this is a film about appreciating motion pictures. And we will be spending, a lot of time in class talking about that topic. But should you want to contact me outside of class, that's also fine too. I hate office hours. Well, okay. I hate the concept of office hours. I find it to be really antiquated. To me, office hours are something that was invented before email and stuff where I don't know, the only way students could probably get a hold of their professors was by dropping in at some random hour. And nowadays I'm sort of like, I don't get it. I consider myself pretty available. So if you email me and you need to set up a time to talk, let's just do it. Let's make an appointment though. So that way multiple people don't show up to my office hours. Even if you want to come during my office hours, please just drop me an email. And then if I know somebody else is coming, I can be like, hey, can you hold on for 20 minutes? So I'm not wasting your time. But I'm happy to like make appointments on Zoom or whatever you want to do. Just email me. Like that's how to do it, man. Office hours, they also don't seem like very realistic to like how other things in the world work, but whatever. Um, oh, here's some good news. The book in this class is free. It's an open access book. It's an open source book, which basically just means it's online for anyone. You can download it if you want and read it as a printed out thing, or you can just read it online, which is actually kind of nice because you can see the embedded motion pictures in there and stuff. Um, that said, here's some other good news. You really don't have to do any reading in this class if you don't want to. I based a lot of my lectures on the readings in the class, and if you want more information on the things I'm talking about, or maybe it would help you write the essay that you're going to have to write for this class. Um, there's lots of good reasons you would want to use your textbook. However, you won't necessarily be penalized if you don't do any reading. It's not like I have a setup where I'm going to quiz you on the readings, okay? I'm going to say this a lot. The name of the game in this class is coming to class, showing up to class. It's less about what you do outside of class. I mean, it's partially what you do outside of class, but it's mostly about being in class. So if you don't think you're going to be able to come to class a lot, this is not a good class for you, okay? I'll get to that in a second. Actually, I'll get to that now. Here, this is how your grade is broken down, okay? So you see all the different points that you can earn here. Notice the biggest pile of points is this 100 points right here. So it's 50% of your grade. It comes from quizzes or content attention checks. Here's the thing. The only way to get these points is by coming to class. Every lecture that I give, probably, but yeah, every lecture that I give, I will administer this attention quiz, which is basically a piece of paper that has a bunch of questions on it. And in order to answer those questions, you have to pay attention to my lecture and fill in the blanks or circle the multiple choice item or whatever it is. Okay. So it requires your attendance and your attention. But if you do that, then it's pretty easy to get all 10 points, at least 9 points or whatever. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that it's like all the questions are completely easy. You do have to pay attention, but it's easy to get a good grade on these things. But here's the catch. If you do not come to class, you cannot get any points. Okay. You get 0 points. So you need to come to at least 10 classes in order to get these points. Okay. Hence, attendance is really important. The other component that, is worth a lot of points are these motion picture show and tell analyses. These are short essays that require you to take vocabulary that I'm going to teach you in the class. Maybe you can get some others from other places. We'll talk about that. And then you make a discussion board post that uses that vocabulary, bold faces it, explains that vocabulary, and applies it to a film scene of your choosing. We'll talk about all of that stuff in class. You can go ahead though if you want and look up like what that is, what those assignments entail. Now, just like the content quizzes, I'm only going to count 2 of these, but I'm going to offer 3. And actually, I didn't explain that completely well. You have to get 10 content quizzes and you have to submit 2 motion picture show and tell analyses. That's what your grade is based on. However, there's going to be more opportunities than you need. So there's probably going to be like 14 quizzes offered in the class at least. And there's going to be 3 show and tell analyses opportunities, which means that if you skip the first one, you can still get full credit because you can do 2 after that. It also means that with your quizzes, if you, I don't know, get sick and can't show up to class, it's not really a big deal because you only need 10 of these. So just come to class at least 10 times. You will have the opportunity to miss at least 4 classes, and it won't necessarily affect your attendance quiz grade. Okay? Does that make sense? I can't actually see feedback. I'm just trying to imagine it. You can think of this as there are freebies built into the syllabus where you're allowed to miss a certain number of classes and it won't have any impact on your grade. But listen, be careful. Save these. If you use up all of your freebies, what if something happens at the end of the semester and you really need them, right? So just be careful with that. This is not an excused absence thing or whatever. There are no makeups for attendance quizzes. They are attendance quizzes. But again, you don't need a makeup. You just need to, if you miss one class, make sure you come to another class so that you at least get 10. Okay. The other components, there's a syllabus quiz, which you need to do this week. There's also this writing about film assessment, which is kind of like an A for effort assignment that you need to do. And that is going to require you to, that's going to require you to watch a television episode this week and then write a short little, very, very informal essay about it where you don't have to do any research or anything. Again, A for effort. Um, and then that's it. Okay. You'll do another one of those at the end of the semester, but we'll talk about that later. So that's basically your makeup. Okay, now you're like, okay, I get it, woman. You're serious about attendance. Yes, I am. So again, the attendant, there's not like this is a weird thing. There's not like there's an official attendance policy, which means I never need your doctor's notes. In fact, I'm not even supposed to know about that stuff. That's like protected health information, okay? I don't need your doctor's notes. I don't need your excuses because you've got a water polo tournament or whatever. I don't need your I don't know, cribbage. I don't know. I don't need to know if you're not coming to class. If you are in class, you will get credit because you do those attendance activities. If you do not come to class, you won't get credit for attendance activities. But that's probably okay so long as you don't miss more than 4 classes. And listen, to put this in perspective, this is a once a week class, okay? So 4 classes in this class is the equivalent of 8 classes. 8 in another like in a class that meets twice a week. So if you think you're going to miss more than 4 classes this entire semester, that is a very large proportion, a very large proportion of the class in general, and you really should not be taking this class this semester. I'm not trying to be mean about it. I'm just trying to be real. And that's actually consistent with the WVU's policy on attendance too. Like we get that everybody has hardships and things that come up, but even if you have hardships that if it's such a hardship that it blocks your ability to be a part of the class, then you just need to find another semester to take it. So I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be nice. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, come to class, come to class, come to class. Half of the class, by the way, the way it's gonna be set up is normally we're gonna have a lecture and then I'll do some sort of screening afterwards. But that screening is gonna have questions, you're gonna answer questions about that screening. So you need to stay put even for the second half of class. So whatever, I'll yell about that when we're in person together. Oh, and actually one more thing. An attendance activity is for your attendance. So don't try this shit where, you have somebody else turn in your quiz for you because that just is cheating and you get zeros and everything. Again, it's really not asking too much though. Just try to show up to just 10 classes. That's all I'm asking for. Um, Now, one thing I want to warn you about, and just because I have all of this stuff about how, well, it's you have to get 10 out of 14 or you have to get 2 out of 3, right? Um, eCampus, I'm going to put all of your grades in eCampus, but eCampus does not understand that some of these things might get dropped, that I'm going to drop your lowest quiz grades if you have over 10, or I'm going to drop your lowest essay grade if you have 3. Okay. So just be really cautious. You have to take some personal responsibility for keeping track of your own grade because eCampus might hallucinate a little bit. It also might work the other way where it thinks that you're doing really bad and actually you're doing really good, or you're not doing good, but it's not bad. Like, let's say that you don't turn in your first show and tell analysis. Well, in theory, that makes you look like you haven't, you're failing the class, but not really because eCampus doesn't know that there's going to be 2 other opportunities for you to make up on that assignment. Okay. So just be careful about that. Um, Also, kind of got to give a trigger warning thing. Look, this is a film appreciation class. It's not about making you comfortable, but I also am not about making you uncomfortable. I do want you to understand that some of the stuff we're going to watch this semester can be pretty graphic. We're going to start off watching a horror film, which don't worry, it's not like for those of you who are sitting there thinking like, oh, I don't like horror, I believe you, but this is a slightly different type of horror film. It's a classic, right? And yeah, it's got language in it. It's got sexual situations. There's like a butt, there's all, oh, by the way, I curse like a sailor. I just got to tell you, I'm not saying it as a positive. It's just a content warning for like my content. So things are going to come up and I do want you to know that I will, as best as I can, try to give you warnings about different things that are going to come up. The first movie you're going to watch is going to have domestic violence in it, for instance. And it's not, this isn't a license not to view these things, but it is trying to kind of give you a heads up in case you might foresee some sort of issue with something we watch. But I also want to say, especially if this is in class, you should, we're adults here. You don't have to ask permission to go to the bathroom or anything like that. If you just feel like you need to like leave class because something's a little bit too intense or whatever, leave and then come back when the threat's over and, like whatever. You can make your own decisions here, and I don't want you to feel weird about doing it, because everybody sort of has their own comfort level. So, um, all right. Now I'm gonna like switch gears a little bit. This is a little bit like what my lecture is gonna be more about, where I'm gonna have like terminology and stuff that's like highlighted. Um, your first little content quiz is online. Normally we'll be doing that in class, hence my lecture on attendance. Um, but this will just give you like a little bit of a taste about what it's going to kind of be like. So I just want to talk about some like overarching things about what we're going to cover in class. First, I just want to get it out of the way. When I say moving image, the truth is I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. I wanted this class to be really, when I first started working on it, I wanted it to cover video games and news media and all different types of moving images, because all of that stuff, whether it's streaming or TikTok videos or video games, whatever, all of that stuff they all are moving images. Okay. They're photographs that move like the talkies. I realized very quickly once I started teaching it, and I've taught it several times now, that there's just so much to cover with film alone that most of this class is going to focus on film, and we're going to get a little bit into TV. But I still want you to sort of understand that all of the things we're talking about in this class do apply to motion pictures broadly, with some exceptions. Um, and a lot of what we're going to be trying to do in this class is dissect the cinematic language. So by cinematic language, what I'm trying to get at in your textbook too, is that in the same way that we learn to understand what somebody means when they are talking to us, or the way that we communicate with other people, we've actually come to understand what film is saying to us. We know, for instance, like when we see a cue, oh, what's a good example? Well, like if you hear like sorry, since we just talked about horror movie, even if you've never seen the movie Psycho, right? You've heard the music. Oh, she likes that. See, even pugs, they know cinematic language. When you hear that music, right? When Hitchcock did it, it was not associated with a slasher film. But now when you hear that music, it's actually got like these genre connotations to it. That's why it's almost operating like that technique, that those sounds are almost acting as if like they're words, where they're symbolic. They have meanings that are associated with them. And our ability to understand this language, it emerges when we're kids, right? We're socialized into understanding this. It happens over time after exposure to film and television, after years and years and years. But also, just as our understanding of the language evolves, the language keeps evolving too. Just like we get new terminology in our language, right? Like different words, in our collective slang, evolves over time. So does things in the movies with different trends, right? Or maybe different technologies like help us like recognize different things. So we're going to be talking a lot about those conventions and how they function like that. I told you the loud one is going to get there. Here, come here. This is the chunky one. Come here. If you're going to be loud, oh, this is a different pug. You can see he's a little longer in the tooth. He's got a little gray beard on him, but he's noisy. Oh, and there's Eggnog in the back. That's my kitty. Hey, buddy. He's mad that I started filming without him. The other way that we're going to be talking about cinema is not just as, something we use for entertainment, although of course it is. We're going to be talking a lot about how film functions as a historical document, how it reflects different stages in human history, and how it evolved with different things that have happened in human history. We're going to talk about cinema as a product of technology, and how when we get technological like evolutions. Sometimes we get narrative changes too. An example that we'll talk about, we're going to focus a lot towards the end of the semester on the superhero genre and talk about how there's no way that superhero movies would have become as popular if we didn't have these simultaneous developments in technology like CGI and stuff, because comic books, they're not constrained by any sort of special effects. Moving images are, right? So it wasn't until we got the technology that we could adapt some of these wild things that were in the comic books to actually look good, that all of a sudden like superhero movies were allowed to take off, right? And finally, cinema is also art, right? So again, art is also entertaining, but not always, right? Sometimes the reason we like art is because it helps us reflect on different issues. It reflects our imagination, and we appreciate it because it's maybe not necessarily beautiful, or maybe it's not necessarily fun, but it is beautiful or complex in some way, right? So those are all the different sort of like lenses we're going to be taking to talk about film. Um, and as kind of like to dovetail on that caveat, um, you will hear me say this a lot over the semester, sometimes more than others, depending on what we're watching. You will have to remember that this is an appreciation class. It is not a film enjoyment class. I hope that you will enjoy a lot of the things that we're going to be watching this semester. I think you will. But I think there are some times that you will not. But that's okay, because the goal is not necessarily to have you give it 2 thumbs up and to have you recommend it to your friends and, sit around and eat popcorn. And I mean, although please bring popcorn if you'd like. It is sometimes you will be watching things that you don't necessarily like, but you can understand why other people do like it, or you can understand why it was an important film in history or an important milestone, right? So those are the types of things that we're going to be doing. Appreciation is really I consider it to be having respect more than even having regard for, if that makes any sense. Um, that said, I have this down here. I hope nobody has this experience. This was somebody's teaching evaluation from a few years ago, and they wrote, I quote, "The Sesame Street documentary was actually the worst thing I have ever seen in my life." So I hope that nothing you see here is the worst thing you ever see in your life. If it's any consolation, I don't think we're going to be watching that Sesame Street documentary, but I don't think it would have been the worst thing you saw in your life. But again, I do just kind of want to anchor us in that, like, we're not here just to, have a good time. We're here to sort of like learn how to better understand why the complexities of how these things are made and how they work to make us feel certain things. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about that. Here's what you got to do. We are going to meet in class next Wednesday. You're going to see me in the flesh. You're going to be amazed at how short I am. I'm always, although sometimes you can't tell if we're in this stadium seating, but yeah. I will not bring my animals because WVU will not let me. But we are going to all meet in Ming Shea Hall on Wednesday, August 27th at 4 p.m. Before we meet, there's 3 things you need to do. First, you need to take your syllabus quiz. It is on your syllabus and various things I've said in this video. The second thing that you want to do is take this weekly content quiz, which is going to ask you about film appreciation and some other things that I also just talked about. So now that you've finished watching this video, I would do these 2 things: syllabus quiz, content quiz next. Oops. And then and this is an important ordering. The next thing you need to do is you need to watch an episode of a television show. The television show is called Black Mirror. Don't worry, it's not a television show that is serial. Like, you don't have to have seen another episode of Black Mirror in order to understand the one I'm showing you now. It's called a bottle episode, so it's self-contained. It's like a short movie. It's a mini movie, okay? Watch that episode. When you're done, you have to watch that episode before you do the next thing. The next thing is it's really a survey that has an open-ended question where you need to write something about this episode. Now, don't freak out. This short writing assignment is it's not something I'm going to grade you on based on how well you do it. I'm going to grade you on effort. So long as you take it seriously and write what you're supposed to write, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, or if you're a good writer or a bad writer or anything like that. Don't freak out about it. Just do it. It'll take you, I mean, honestly, all of this combined, the episode is probably under an hour. And then I would wager that if that's under an hour, and then your syllabus quiz, the content quiz, and then the writing assignment, all of that will take you much less than an hour. I would guess that you could do all of this within about an hour and a half, but you could space it out if you wanted to too. And that's it. That's what you got to do for homework this week. And then I will see you in class for our first official lecture, and you'll get your first content quiz and all that stuff, or second content quiz, but in person on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. It'll be a lot better than having me sit here with my dogs. Okay. Bye.